Good morning, folks, and welcome to Shop Talk live stream number 30. I am your host, Robert O'Brien, and I appreciate you tuning in here on this Friday morning, wherever you are in the world. Speaking of wherever you are in the world, go ahead and click on the in the chat box and go ahead and put your name in there so I know where you're from, because I love seeing where everybody's from. I always read all the posts and everything after the stream. So go ahead and make sure you do that. And thank you to Jim Deeming for the wonderful intro music we got there. Go check out his website, jimsguitar.com. He's a wonderful fingerstyle picker right here in Colorado. All right, today's guests are going to be Ian Davlin from an undisclosed location. Some airport somewhere is what I hear. Doug Proper, also known as the guitar specialist. And we also have Bo Hannum right here in Grand Junction, Colorado. They will be coming on here in a few minutes, and the topic of the day is social media and how to use that to promote your business. Everybody uses social media these days, and if you use it to your advantage, you can have a nice bump in sales. So, giveaways. We always have a giveaway here during our live streams, and all the way down there in São Paulo, Brazil. Let's see, where is São Paulo, Brazil? There is Cesar and Manuela. And Cesar and Manuela, they look like they're in my shop. They're not in my shop. That is a green screen. And they are actually in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And they just got married. Big round of applause. There you go for Cesar and Manuela. Happily married. Congratulations. Cesar, we're going to do a giveaway today. What are we going to give away?
So today we are giving away a very special course, which is the Marketing for Luthier course.
Okay.
And all you have to do to have a chance of winning is click at the top of the chat box. There is a link there, and fill in your basic info, name and email, so we can contact you, and you may win a copy of this course.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cesar and Manuela. I'll take you off the screen. I'll bring you back here in just a few minutes. Cesar, I think there's also a slight echo on your end, so if you're following along on a YouTube link somewhere, watching the stream live, you may want to mute that audio or something. I think that's where that's coming from. So we're going to be giving away, like you said, a very special course, Marketing for Luthiers. Kind of goes along with the theme that we're going with here today. I want to show you also the Luthiery Academy website. So let's pull that up. LuthieryAcademy.com. There's a ton of information out there. There's also some free information. Let me just go right up here and click on the videos link. And you'll see a ton of free videos. Look at all the Luthier Tips du Jour videos there. You'll see product videos. For example, there's Doug Proper's guitar station, the man himself. And we will be talking with Doug here momentarily. You'll be able to click on videos about my guitars that I've made being played by people from around the world. Instruments built by students. It's all there, all free stuff. Repair videos. Some of the nasty repairs I've done over the years, even the past live streams. If you click on that link, you can watch all this stuff, and it's all for free, folks. So go ahead and take advantage of that. All free stuff. Also, we have a brand new course coming up at the Luthiery Academy. If you go back over here to the Luthiery Academy, click on online courses. There it is, coming soon, Luthier Tips du Jour videos season 2. I started doing Luthier Tips du Jour videos way back in 2007. Since then, I've had almost 11 million hits on the YouTube channel, and it's all there for you. All of the released ones there for you to view. The Luthier Tips du Jour Season 2 are 50 unreleased videos, so you can actually watch these before they actually get out. You'll be part of an elite club. Recently I launched a new video course called Refinishing an Instrument. So if you want to learn how to refinish your instrument, there it is. Let's face it, folks, we've all had problems and things go south on us when it comes to finish work. So if you need to remove a finish, there it is. Also, very quickly, I want to talk about my sponsors. They help keep the lights on here at O'Brien Guitars. Appreciate them for all the support. And I would appreciate it if you would also give them some support. I'm sure they would appreciate if you use their services and their goods there. All right. Getting back to the list here. Where you're from, please put that in the chat box. I like to see that. Also, we may have some time for some questions today. If we do, in the chat box, go ahead and put a Q with a colon before your question. That way it makes it a little easier for me to find. So make sure you do that. Classes. Oh, I've got an interesting thing coming up with some classes I want to talk about. And if you go back over to this time to the iPad, we're going to the Mark Adams School of Woodworking. Finishing expert Jeff Jewett and I will be giving our second annual professional spray finishing course there at the Mark Adams School of Woodworking. It's in July 10th to the 16th. Make sure that you, if you're interested in learning how to do a professional factory sprayed type finish, high gloss, make sure you go ahead and sign up for that. That class is filling up quickly. Also, some of our sponsors are offering some discounts. For example, LMI, they're having a 25% off sale this week on bone nuts and saddles. They use black water buffalo, so it's a little harder and a little more consistent than from other suppliers. Also, the Japanese nut and saddle file sets are 10% off this week. The SKUs on those are FN and FISET. So make sure you check those out. Also, StewMac. All of the O'Brien Guitars and Luther Academy viewers get a 10% discount there. They're having that sale, let's see, until midnight on March 3rd. So if you're interested in picking up some supplies from StewMac, now's the time at a 10% off. You do have to click on the little red tab there to apply your discount. Okay, I think it's about time to bring up the heavy hitters here in the Luther industry. Let's start by bringing on Bo Hannum, all the way out there in Grand Junction, Colorado. How you doing, Bo?
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's see. Let me get back here. I'm going to add you on just a thumbnail at a time here. There's Bo. And then we also got Doug Proper, also known as the guitar specialist, right there in. Well, you're in New York, right, Doug?
Yeah, we are. How are you, Robbie?
Doing
How
great.
are you,
Thanks for tuning in.
Hello.
And last but not least, in no particular order here, by the way, is Ian Davlin. He is coming to us from an undisclosed location somewhere in an airport. He's undercover today as a tourist, but he is able to join in and be able to participate here. All right, let's see what we got going on here in the chat box here. Oh my God, Somerville, South Carolina. David Allen from Loveland, Colorado. Don Parker. Man, I recognize a lot of names here. Good morning, Cesar Manuela from Flagstaff. Oh, Cesar Manuela, they're quite famous here on the streams. Love Boat Captain from, where is that? Silverdale, Washington. Love Boat Captain, I love it. Timothy from North Carolina. Matt was here recently from Nebraska. Mike Desiderio. Well, thank you folks for tuning in. All right, let's get right after it here. I'm going to ask these folks some questions, and if you have a comment, I'll try and direct it to a certain person, but if you have a comment, feel free to chime in here. Let's start with Bo. Bo, you have been really hitting the whole social media hard here in the last few years. First of all, why use social media? Why did you decide to do it?
Well, I mean, I went to art school and I was always interested in photography and that sort of thing. So that helped. I already had the gear to do good quality content, and I enjoy filming and editing, sort of. And I look at what big companies do, and all the big companies hit social media hard. So I thought it seems like a good idea.
Sure. And have you noticed a return some way, in some fashion?
I've never really got an order and the person has said, I saw you on YouTube or Instagram and I love that picture of a cat, or a guitar, and I want to order something. So I think it's a bit like going to guitar shows. It's just spreading your name a little wider than you normally would be able to.
Okay. Ian, they're in the airport in an undisclosed location. You're hitting social media pretty hard here too. I see you on Instagram. I see you on Patreon. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing. Why did you decide to go to social media?
Well, my social media originally started just simply because I was doing interesting repairs and I just wanted a place to blab about it like everybody else. They were like, is an undocumented life even worth living anymore? I don't know. But so Instagram was the vehicle for that. And originally it was just to kind of share with other with other luthiers. You know, like it was never geared towards. I never geared my social media towards getting customers. So it was always kind of. I kept my name kind of a pseudonym and didn't really advertise who I was. Although other luthiers wound up figuring that out eventually.
Yeah, very interesting. That's
But
that's kind of how I got started. I didn't really do it for self-promotion. I did it to promote the college course that I was teaching and to have
yeah,
some type of audiovisual aid for my students. And so I started putting together the tips to yours for my students. And then they got out into the world and then all hell broke loose on me. So
yeah,
floodgates were open.
it can happen.
Doug, let's hear your opinion on social media.
Um, I have a little bit of a different perspective as it relates to social media. I'm a latecomer to it. I spent most of the 2000s being an old fuddy-duddy and decrying social media as responsible for most of the evils on the earth. And a good portion of me still think that's the case. So I I avoided it like the plague for much of the 2000s and the 2000 teens, and only got onto Instagram, I think, in 2021 or somewhere thereabouts, at the behest of an apprentice of mine who kept bugging me. You know, you got to be on Instagram. You got to be on Instagram. And I'd say, put your phone away and get back to work. And you know, I'm I don't know if the rest of us remember this, but social media has evolved over time. If you go back far enough, it started off with like internet news groups, and then those things became forums, and then once the iPhone was developed, social media was in the palm of your hand, and it was Twitter, and then it was Facebook, and then it was Instagram, and so forth, so such. I've never been involved in most of it because most of it I really didn't have the time, the attention span, or the patience for.
Mhm.
And we only started Instagram a little more than a year and a half, 2 years ago, and that's the only social media I do. So, but I do have, I mean, I have opinions about it, but I think some of those opinions have changed to the more positive, I think. And
Okay.
I don't view any kind of social media as um, a promotional aspect for a business, because I've yet to get a customer through Instagram.
Okay.
I don't know about the other things. I'm not on Facebook. I probably never will be. I opened up a YouTube channel and then uh, completely ignored it about 4 minutes later. And I know it's still there because every once in a blue moon it'll say somebody you don't know has just subscribed to your YouTube channel, and I go, oh, that's nice. I haven't put a video up in 2.5 years. I put a really stupid video up of Sharon and I like goofing around, and then that was it. There's a couple of other things on there, but
Right.
so I view social media as a different thing rather than promotion. My perspective on it is that it's a very widely cast community
Mhm.
that I become part of, and my mind about that changed very very early on. Um, the number of people that I've met and have become truly close friends with through this, other luthiers and other lutes, has been astonishing to me. So
Interesting.
that's the way I view it. I don't view it as a promotional aspect. I do think there is value there from a promotional aspect if you have something to sell.
Right.
If you have a product or a widget or a tool
Mhm.
or a kitten or a fuzzy animal or whatever, a pair of socks, whatever you're selling, I think the widely cast net to promote something is a very valuable tool to selling. I don't know how much it lends itself to the business of service.
Okay. You mentioned you use Instagram. I use Instagram, I use Facebook, and I use YouTube. and I can directly track business to my social media footprint. The first thing I ask my students when they come in here is, how did you hear about me? The majority of them now say the internet. And that internet is generally YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. And then they find their way to my website. And oh, by the way, I have things for sale. So you mentioned it's good if you have something for sale. And I do have things for sale. I have online courses. So I can directly track business through social media. Now, I think social media is a necessary evil in my case, because I do actually get business from it. But boy, I do have to bite my tongue because there's some do's and don'ts that you should do or should not do with social media. That's the next question I'm going to. Bo, do's and don'ts with social media. What's your experience there?
Well, I've posted a few things, and then my wife texts me like 20 seconds later and says, "Please take that down." It's usually when my humor kind of goes a little, I don't know, haywire, or I haven't had a coffee yet. I guess the general, don't mention politics, religion, all the rest.
Yep.
Don't be too racy. But there's always with any business and putting yourself out publicly, there's a great opportunity to be yourself, but that can be hindrance, or it depends on what sort of person you are, and if you like to put your foot in your mouth and that sort of thing. Yeah. So, but that's for the don'ts generally, and the do's are, I stick to either pretty pictures of things I've completed, or I tend to gravitate more towards how-to videos and posts. It's just how I started as a student and then teacher at Gillette Guitars, and I've always loved teaching. And so that's the things that I love about social media, is just telling people how to do stuff the way I do it. And it might be not the best way, but it's a good way for me. And that's how I met Ian, and how I met Doug and you, Robbie. So I think we're all in the same boat about that.
It's been a wonderful tool for sharing, and I think Ian, you can certainly contest to that, because the social media has allowed. I've never met Ian, I've never met Doug, I've met both several occasions, but the internet has brought us together as a community. However, it can also destroy us as a community. So Ian, do's and don'ts.
That's a really good question, and looking back on it, we sell different things, so Doug is in the business of, if he was to sell something, it would probably be, getting people through the door to get their guitars fixed, whereas we're selling more online instruction stuff, which is completely different. And I would say, it would be hard, if I was trying to sell repair on Instagram, which I think is, could be successful, but the platform just isn't really designed for it necessarily. Right. But I would run my social media completely differently if I was trying to get repair consumers' eyeballs on the website or on the platform. And part of that is I wouldn't show, there would be more before pictures and then after pictures, and not so many in between pictures, where guitars are, cut open, and maybe I'm making a funny joke about destroying somebody's guitar or something. It would just be a different operation completely. And it's something, it's if I was trying to get repair clients in, I probably wouldn't do as many how-to videos for the same reason. It's just you leave yourself open to people saying, well, you know how you should do it. And then you've got to go into the comments and, defend your honor as an expert to potential repair clients. So I would say, if I was going after repair clients, it would be before and after. Oh boy, isn't that amazing? Less guitar gore, and probably less sardonic humor, which is kind of how I have fun on the platform. So I don't know. I don't know that I would be particularly successful at it. I've always, been trying to have fun with it. So
sure,
that's my 2 cents on that.
Good, Doug. Do's and don'ts.
Well, I think my number one do is to have fun with it. I don't. I and I just wanted to make a quick comment on what Ian was just talking about there and what we had alluded to before, the do's and don'ts. I think it's a great platform for any social media is a great platform if you have a product or a consumable
Hmm.
for people to purchase. So if you're selling like online courses like you are, or um, your every other week guitar courses where somebody can come into your shop and build a guitar for a week, that being able to uh, promote your students and see them building their guitars in the shop, and on Monday there's a pile of wood, and on Saturday there's this gorgeous looking guitar there. I think that's a draw for you. I think that works in spades. That's like rock star stuff. And then
Yeah.
I imagine that attracts others to want to be able to have that experience. Same thing for Ian. He's got a platform that he has people that can subscribe to, where they can come to learn the craft. I think selling a guitar, like say Bo is doing, as he said, I don't know if anybody's come to me and said, or come to him and said, I saw your guitar on Instagram and I want to buy it. I'm
Right.
sure there are a lot of DMs there from people from all over the planet who just ask silly questions like, how much? With repairs, I don't think there's, and maybe I'm not. I may be talking out of my hat here, because for the 2 years that we've been on Instagram, we've gotten a lot of followers. I get a lot of DMs from people saying, if I send you a picture, can you give me a quote? Most of them I don't even answer.
Right.
But we've also actually closed to new work for 2 years so we
Mhm.
can clear our backlog. So that entire time we've been on Instagram, I haven't been taking new guitars. So I actually don't know if new work would have come in if we
Right.
had been open to new work. So it's conceivably possible that it would have been.
Right.
But the way I view it is, for my purposes and my use of it, is to share information. Very quickly, I started with some cute pictures, some impressive photos of guitars, or some guitar eye candy, and that kind of thing. And to me, it got boring very quickly. And I found that the space where it seemed to suit me the best is I can show off ways that I do things that may be different than anybody's seen before, only because
Right.
I've been doing this in the game for so long.
Right.
Um, so that's in terms of the usage of it for our different purposes. I think if you have something to sell, it can really work. One of the examples of that was, somebody had sent me a tool saying, Doug, I think you'd like this. They're friends, luthier friends, and fairly well known. And I said, oh, that's really cool. And of course, I knew the reason why they sent it to me was that I would post about it.
Right.
And when I posted about it, I had heard from them the same day they had sold out of their entire inventory in that single day.
Wow.
That can happen if you promote something but if you have to have something to sell.
Right.
Selling a service, I think, is much harder because I'm not going to give you a quote over email or an Instagram post or a
Right.
DM.
Right.
But getting back to your questions about do's and don'ts, I have a single rule when it comes to my Instagram, and it's be positive.
Exactly. Nice.
I don't allow negative comments. If I see a single solitary negative comment from anybody in a post or anything else, or something that could be interpreted as a negative comment, it gets deleted and I block that person. I don't care if they're following me already, I unfollow them and block them.
Right.
I will not tolerate a single solitary negative thing on my Instagram, because I think social media has the tendency to unlock the doors to the dark side very easily.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
people can express opinions for the sake of expressing an opinion. I post a tool that I make some of the silliest tools for some purposes you would think wouldn't need to be, but to me they all work.
Right. Right.
You make a tool for something. If I run into something where I have to do it more than twice, and it's been a pain in the butt on the second time as well,
Right.
I'll make it to make it easier.
Right.
And then invariably there's some blowhard know-it-all who decides he's going to post on there. I've been doing this for 78 years. I've been doing Luthery since 1912, and I've never seen the use for such a tool. I've never used a damn thing like that before. I don't see why you'd ever want. Good. Delete, block,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
with my day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to engage
Anonymous.
in those kind of conversations because it's too easy. Because I could feel myself being pulled in that direction of wanting to engage and do it exactly what Ian said: is get on there and defend my honor as a luthier.
Right. Right.
I'm not. I just not going to go there, and that's my one single solitary rule.
That's a good rule. Ian, by the way, I've muted you, Ian, because I'm picking up some of the intercom and background noise there in the airport. If you need to say something or have a comment, just raise your hand or something. I'll know to unmute your mic. Do's and don'ts. I'll answer the question too. I have some rules in my classes, and that carries over into the social media. No politics, no religion, no Brazilian football clubs. And I used to put that in my syllabus because everybody knows I spent 15 years in Brazil. And if you mention a Brazilian football club, you've automatically made a best friend or a worst enemy. So you automatically alienate 50% of your clientele by talking about politics, religion, or Brazilian football clubs. Over the years, I've added to those, Mac or PC, Coke or Pepsi, all that kind of stuff, all kind of off limits. So that's one of the things I don't talk about. Also, I'm like Doug there. I don't like negativity. Life's hard enough as it is. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, so I try and keep things positive. Occasionally, I'll get guys that will post. They've built one guitar, and all of a sudden they're the resident expert. And I'll post a video, and they'll say, "You can't do it like that. What are you doing? You're out of your mind." Those kind of posts, I generally pin them at the top, so everybody can see that post, and this guy really knows nothing what he's talking about. And then after a while, someone will come back and say, "Would you mind deleting that post?" So I'll unpin it and delete it at that point. So yeah, I try and keep things positive. All right. What works on social media? What works? Hang on. Let me back up. You talked about posting repair videos. Now, you're in the repair business, Doug, and I would think that would bring you some business. Years and years ago, I did a complete restoration on an 1890 Martin. I posted a video of it, and all of a sudden, I'm the resident expert on Martins. And people are calling me and emailing me and wanting to send me instruments, and so I did another one. And I did another one. I've got several videos of restorations of old Martins. The last one I did was 1860. And recently I got one in from Hawaii, 1942 OM, bought in Hawaii just right before Pearl Harbor. So very, very interesting stuff. And in my business, that has helped me. People want to send me stuff, and I do. That's not my main business, is repair work like yours, Doug. I do more instructional stuff. But it's a nice little supplement to the income, and I think that I can see the benefit from social media by doing that. I want to talk about what has worked and what has not worked. Years ago, 2007 is when I started YouTube. I mean, that was in its infancy. There wasn't a lot out there. And I had maybe a dozen videos when I started, and it was mostly for my students at the college, but they were all public. And I would get between 3,000 and 5,000 views a day. And I would tell people that, think, "My God, you're killing it." I was, "Well, okay, whatever." These days, I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos, and I'm lucky to get 1,000 to 1,500 views a day. So what happened? The market has become saturated. A guy that's a weekend luthier in his garage is now producing videos. Some of them are very poorly produced. Some of them are very well produced. And all of a sudden, they're the resident expert. So there's a lot of fish in the pond now. So what does one do to get noticed? What has worked for you? Let's start with Bo. Bo, what has worked for you?
Well, I do know certain avenues to go down which would get me more views, which would be more clickbaity titles, and primarily more videos that aren't structured towards a really niche element of lutherie. So if I posted a video on how to play Stairway to Heaven intro or something, that would get a lot of views. And if I did something like that in regard to lutherie, then that would be that would probably do the same thing. But I'm just not interested in that kind of thing. I don't really. I do know some tricks that I could apply that would get me more views, but they don't seem to interest me that much. I just tend to like to record videos that I would like to see. So I do everything from, why do I epoxy on a bridge on a cheap classical guitar to, you should use hide glue on such and such instrument or something.
Okay.
But,
Do you use more pictures or more videos?
more
And why?
videos on YouTube and Instagram. So I make reels on Instagram and then I post it to TikTok and YouTube Shorts just because it's like a few clicks and it's done, and I've got it on actually four with Facebook. And then the YouTube videos are a separate kind of filming exercise because, the shorts are like this and the filming of YouTube videos is like this, which I do on a good camera.
Right.
But the production value doesn't seem to. It does help with having good audio and good video, but it doesn't seem to strictly apply to quantity of views and quality of comments. To point out Doug's comment about quality of comments and if they're good or bad or ugly, and being YouTube and anonymous posting, it's can be pretty ugly.
Yeah. Something that I discovered recently is I've always done pictures. I was on, we're talking Instagram and Facebook. I've always done pictures, share one to the other and that kind of stuff. And then last year I was in Indiana teaching with Jeff Jewett, and I recorded a couple videos or did, put together a reel with some music, and the thing exploded. And I thought, aha, we're becoming a society that we have no attention span. So the text doesn't grab anybody anymore. It's got to be text and a picture and preferably a video. So I'm going to let Ian come back on here, and let's let Ian talk about what works and what doesn't work for him. So you're unmuted there, Ian. Take it away.
People are looking for novelty. On Instagram, I've had some success with producing novel videos. Like I did a couple stop motion videos for the Total Vice Vices that were well received. Got a lot of views on that. I've done absolutely nothing on YouTube. I pretty much use YouTube as a place to put my videos to, have a link to share with the Patreon guys. Yep. But I tried early on when I was mostly just used YouTube to try to get up to that 2,000 subscriber level because there were a couple of perks that were up there that I wanted to get. So I tried doing some produced videos at first, and they went absolutely nowhere. And I went, okay, that's fine.
Right.
And I really haven't put much effort into doing produced videos for YouTube since. The last one that I did was this one where I went into the city and went and toured Evan Gluck's shop. Mm-hmm. And it shot up to 2,000 views in like the first couple hours and then plateaued. And it's, so in the 3 months since I've gotten it, it's done maybe 100 more views since then. So I just can't put a lot of effort into, YouTube's algorithmic whims, basically is how I look at it. It was a lot of effort on that video. And for them to, for whatever reason, and maybe all 2,000 people that were interested in it watched it in the first hour, but I don't know how to budget my time according to that set of rewards. So it's pretty much a non-starter. So I stick with Patreon, and I use it as a way to promote Patreon. People can see little short video clips of the interviews that we do or the demos that we do on there, and it works good as a forward-facing ambassador of the Patreon. And beyond that, I've got no interest in trying to figure out how to tweak my thumbnail. A nice thumbnail is a good thing. Right. But I've already spent hours messing around with thumbnails, and once again, the cost-benefit analysis of the time put in it just hasn't produced anything near and telling me that it's worth the juice is worth the squeeze.
Right. By the way, Ian, why don't you go ahead and mention your Patreon page? I just joined Ian's Patreon page here recently. I want him to mention that in case anybody's interested.
Yeah. So it's the Luth Group. It used to be Ian Hates Guitars. And then I actually did some market research and found out that the word hate is not a particularly good word to use in your marketing strategy. So I changed it to the loose group. Also, it's becoming more of a group thing. You know, when I started the Patreon, it was like, hey, I'm going to show everybody what I know, and boy, you run out of things that you know pretty quick. So now it's more of the service that's provided is more of a networking service, and try to keep things vocational and all that. And I will say, going back to the social media angle, I run already. So I started a new Instagram for the Luth Group, and that's it's being run already. I'm running it way differently than I ran my legacy Instagram, which was a little bit more a little more loose in content and captions and all that kind of stuff. So this is a little bit more for real, I would suppose.
Perfect. What's the link to it?
So the link to the Patreon is Patreon / the Luth Group, and then the Instagram is also just at the Luth Group. And so Doug is a contributing partner of the Luth Group, and that means that you can get a hold of him on there, and he has to answer your questions. Like if you're a member, you can call him up and, hey, Doug, righty tighty or lefty loosey on this, and he'll have to say.
And Dan Erlewine's a contributor, Michael Baskin as well. So you guys check it out. It's really great content.
Bo is a contributing member too. We haven't figured out what we're going to use him for yet, but it might just be raw magnetism at this point. We're hoping to get him on there.
Perfect. So. All right, just quickly, Doug, and then we need to go to a giveaway here. Oh, by the way, quick announcement: we've had our first thumbs down on our live stream, and when I put out a video on YouTube, I usually get one guy that gives me the thumbs down. So I guess he's on our live stream here. Congratulations to the one guy who's given us the thumbs down. Certainly appreciate that. All right, Doug.
Who was talking when that happened?
Doug, what works and what doesn't work? Oh, hang on. Wardrobe change.
Since he's got a thumbs down, I think I'll put my hair on.
There we go. Doug's got his Scottish hat and hair on there. So what do you find that works for you, Doug, when it comes to social media?
Nothing works.
Nothing works. Okay.
I don't consider it work. I consider it play.
Okay.
I try not to. I take my craft very seriously. I don't take myself seriously at all.
Okay.
I very quickly early on decided that my Instagram, if I was going to continue with it, because I was days into it, I was ready to just delete the whole thing because I found it's time consuming. It sucks you in, there's, oh, wow, how many people like this and all of that stuff. That's fine. And I early on decided that I was going to use it basically as a platform to share. I have for a very, very long time subscribed to the notion that a trade secret only has value once it's shared.
Right.
And that's something that back in the days, I got started I grew up in this business in the early 80s, and there was no internet. There was, you had to read a book if you want to talk about attention spans.
Yep.
But back then, if you wanted to learn something, you had to find somebody. And there were a lot of people who helped me out along the way that were happy to spend time on the phone with me. Michael Dresner, Frank Ford, Roger Sadowski, to name a few. I could probably name 20 others that put up with me asking some of the most stupid questions I could think of over the phone. And they were happy to help me out. They were happy to coach me through something. Sometimes it involved some kind of, surreptitious method of getting in contact with them. Other times it was, through a friend, but there were, Misha Parshanov was another one, a fabulous fireman builder that's up here in the Northeast. And I was amazed at how many people, once you got through to them, were generally interested in saying, here, let me show you how I do that if you really want to learn. And that it may have been my earnestness in wanting to learn it rather than wanting to find the easy way out. So I saw my Instagram, to bring it to modern day, my Instagram is an opportunity to say, instead of just showing a repair that everybody can go, wow, to, I'm going to take the time to explain as many words and key characters that they'll allow of how I do that.
Right.
Sometimes you'd write the characters. So then I started doing these long form, what I affectionately refer to as mini-series posts, where I would post a repair over the course of 5 days with dozens of pictures. And, it would give me the opportunity to get into verbiage in the caption, all of the details about the repair. And I think a lot of people have responded to that. And it was also a way of not having to answer dozens of questions in DM saying, how did you do that? Or this part of that, how did you get that to look
That's
like
great
that?
advice.
Put all of that information down there. And then that's where I said, like I was saying before, that's what stepped me into realizing that if you allow it to be a place of positivity and community, that you can make a lot of friends with this. I I think it was last week or maybe the week before, I was contacted by somebody through Ian's group. I remember contacting Ian all over a year ago, telling him I wanted to contribute in some way to his thing because I really believed in the sharing aspect and the information sharing aspect of what he was building. But I was contacted a couple of weeks ago through Instagram from somebody through the Luth group with a bunch of questions about problems he was having fretting. Dan and I had done a couple of shows where Ian and Joel were involved with. We called it Fretorama, just for fun. But we did 2 videos of diving deep into both fretwork and fret leveling crowning. Somebody reached out to me with all sorts of questions about what they got from that and the difficulties that they were having on their bench. And so I said, fine, rather than me sitting there for 45 minutes trying to type with my thumbs to answer very intricate questions, I said, let's just do a video call. And we did a video call with me and a Luth from Romania for an hour the other night. And that to me is my way of doing what people did for me on the phone, back when I started, so if I've got information that I can help, younger, less experienced Luths with, I'm happy to share it. And I think it's a great avenue for that. So that's, in a sense, that's my answer to what works for me. I have fun with it and I'm happy to be part of the community.
Perfect. Just mentioned your Instagram page is The Guitar Specialist, right?
Yeah, it's actually Guitar Specialist Inc.
Guitar Specialist Inc. Everybody that's listening, if you're on Instagram, go follow Doug there. I've been following his post about the series of repairs, and man, it's just fantastic information. Also, you guys go out and join Ian's Patreon page because there's a lot of great information there. I mean, this is all about sharing and learning here, folks. And the more that the tide rises, we all surf together, kind of thing. All right, I need to take everybody off the screen here real quick, and I need to bring up Cesar and Manuela all the way down there in Brazil. We're going to have a giveaway, so everybody's going to disappear for a minute. And there's Cesar and Manuela. Yay, Cesar and Manuela. Cesar, how many people have enrolled in the giveaway? Oh, you don't have no audio. You have no audio. Where's your audio? Where's your audio, Cesar? Uh-oh, we've lost Cesar's audio. Technical difficulties, folks. No audio, Cesar. Try that. Cesar, come in, Cesar. Try and say something. Nope.
Disconnect.
Oh, there we go. Oh, when he gets back on, we'll dial him back up. I think he's just dialed out there for a minute. We'll bring him back up here in just a second so he gets back in here. Sometimes this is a live show, folks. Technical difficulties. I've never been ceased amazed about what we can do with technology and the internet. I mean, here we are sharing information via internet. And we got Cesar and Manuel all the way down to Brazil. We got Ian in an undisclosed location in an airport somewhere here in the U.S. We've got Doug over there in New York, and we got Bo right here in Colorado with me. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy the reach that we have here. Dialing people up from all over the world and having the technology work is a pretty amazing thing. And There he comes. He's coming back. Let's see if we can get him in here. All right, Cesar, you've muted yourself. Take yourself off
Here
mute.
is.
There we go. You back?
We are back. Sorry.
Okay, so how many people have signed up for the giveaway?
So we have 49 people.
49 people, and Cesar has a little Excel spreadsheet there with the name and address of everybody, and Manuela is our random number generator there, so have at it. Let's go. Number 12.
12.
Who's number 12?
Let's see who is number 12. Number 12 is Eric.
Eric, congratulations. You have won the Marketing for Luthier course. The Marketing for Luthier's course was put together by Drew Boyd, who's the marketing director here at the Luther Academy. He's also the head of the University of Cincinnati, I believe. And he travels all over the world teaching people how to get their stuff together when it comes to marketing. So thank you so much, Cesar. We'll be back here in a little bit.
Thank you.
All right. I want to go with some questions here for some people. Let me bring everybody back up on here on the screen slowly. There's Doug. There's Ian. All right. Everybody's back on the screen. I noticed there were some questions coming in, so let's just do some quick questions here. And let me get back up here. Man, we got a lot of questions. And I saw one that I wanted to get. This one is from Brazil. See if we can get it on the screen here. It may cover somebody up. Oh, we're going to cover somebody up there, but that's all right. Question, if I don't have time to update my social media, what's better? To have a lot of social media that are not up to date, or to have just one and keep it updated? That's a pretty good question. Bo, you got a comment on that?
Well, I think so when I started at Gelé Guitars and I started up their Facebook page, it was really hard. I had a little Instamatic camera and I had to plug it into the computer and upload it, and it was a real pain. But with iPhones, you just take a picture, and with a few clicks, it takes like 2 minutes to post to 4 places for me. So
Right.
if you're going to do one, you might as well do, a handful at least. But, having said that, I'm not sure. I just started on TikTok, and I don't know if that's worth it. But, if you're posting a photo on Instagram, you can post it on Facebook. It's really easy with an iPhone or Samsung.
Right. I'm a firm believer in quality of content. I try to stay away from, hey, I'm at Starbucks having a coffee, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I try and have some type of little nugget in all of my posts, a tidbit or something. And so that's what I find that I try and do. And like Bo said, it's very quick and easy to just post a picture and a blurb or something. So you don't have to, be school trained to do this stuff. Here's another question, unrelated, but maybe you can answer it if there's time. Do you match your fretboard extension angle to the predicted angle of the neck? That is definitely unrelated. So I think we'll skip that one. Let me try and pull up another one here. This is all done on the fly here live, folks. Let's see. Every time I go back to my chat box, it goes all the way to the most recent.
In answer to that fretboard question, I think it depends on whether or not it's on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok.
Exactly. Let's see.
Right.
CBC Guitars. This is probably more of a question for Bo. How do you manage expectations of customers who might want to see their post about instruments in progress? Oh, that's interesting. Do you post progress report pics to your customers on social media?
If they specifically request it, then I will, because I usually do anyway. Mm-hmm. It would become a problem if I felt that I really needed to and had to, because 20 customers were asking me the same thing and I didn't want to. That mm-hmm. would become a personal problem. But because I just post so many pictures of interesting little tidbits, well, what I find interesting anyway, it's not a problem.
Perfect. And there's somebody who says, hey, use the Bo funny faces as clickbait. I hear that's almost as good as posting a picture of a cat.
Yeah.
Now,
Actually,
Stumac,
my most popular Instagram picture was a picture of a Rogers tuner just one little tuner.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's funny what gets clicks.
Stu Mac, who is really hitting the social media scene hard here, has a comment. On YouTube, a lot of work has to be done on the analytics. And that is something I don't understand. What I do on YouTube is I launch a video about every 3 to 4 weeks. It's one of my Luthier Tips du Jour video series. And I notice that I'm going down in the ranking. My videos aren't suggested as much. And that's one thing I figured out about the YouTube algorithm. The more you post, the more your videos are suggested to others and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't quite figured that out. Maybe I'd have Stu Mac on here one day to talk about social media, because, boy, they're really hitting it hard. Doing a great job at it. Let's see.
I would like to take a
Go ahead, Doug.
About progress videos, because I've dealt with a little bit of that. Most of when I post a guitar in process or a mini series about, a particular type of repair that we're doing, in almost every case, that guitar has already left the shop. It's already done, or else there wouldn't be completed pictures of it. And generally speaking, it's with the customer's permission in mind that we've had a conversation about when they picked up the guitar. So, do you mind if I post about this
No,
on Instagram? Sure, they're
I
happy
love
to.
it.
Can't
I
wait.
love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And they do like to see it. Customers really do like to see their guitars on Instagram. I have had calls from customers saying, "Hey, Doug, I was on your Instagram and I was looking in the background on the benches and I don't see my guitar on the benches there. Are you working on it?" And that can get, those conversations got to get a little strange. So there is part of the social media world that is not necessarily helpful to getting work done that way.
Mm-hmm.
But customers by and large do like it. I have had some customers say, I'd rather you didn't. That's fine. I have, for the longest time, since the 80s, when I had to do it with a 35 millimeter camera, photographed the progress of almost every repair we've done. I have boxes and boxes and boxes of photos, not for the purposes of sharing it, because back then there was no social media. You would basically stand in front of your house and hold up a picture that you just got back developed from the drugstore. But I used it for the purposes of documenting work. I used it for the purposes of being able to share with customers what took place. I do believe that most customers don't really know what happens in the back room when you start taking apart their instruments. They don't have an appreciation of what really is involved. So it helps them understand why something that you thought might take 6 weeks turns into 12 or 24 weeks, because then they see pictures, they go, "That's my guitar and all of those pieces there." Yeah, that's your guitar.
Could
So
scare them away
does-
too if they see that, huh?
Yeah. But it as long as they're seeing it after the fact, and they can see that the guitar's back together again and fine, it's not necessarily a problem. Right. So I've always documented the work that way. So doing it on social media wasn't hard to do. And I don't spend a ton of time on it. I just spend a few minutes a day, actually. It's not a great deal of time. And I try to do it in such a way that it doesn't pull me away from the bench.
Okay. That's where I want to go next with this, is time.
There's an element that's covering your own butt too with before pictures, because you could give a guitar back and the customer says that scratch wasn't there before, but then you pull up a picture that you posted and say, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah. That's a whole nother subject about documenting instruments before they come in. And in fact, in my repair and restoration course available at the Luthier Academy, I have a whole lesson on that, about documenting the instrument when it comes into your hands, because you get, some people sometimes say, "Hey, that scratch wasn't there," and yes, it was. So, all right, I want to go to the next question here, and we're starting to run out of time. Is time? I mean, when I start seeing a lot of people start posting on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, all of a sudden I think, okay, that guy has no orders. Because this is a full-time job. I mean, it really is about marketing yourselves, the learning curve, and things are constantly changing almost daily with the way you post on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever. I want to ask each of our guests here real quickly about the learning curve. First of all, is it worth it? I mean, is it good business sense to do what you're doing? And then later, if we have time, we'll quickly talk about, in fact, let's just go ahead and throw that question in, follow-up question. What's your gear that you use to do it? Because you can spend a lot of money in a hurry. I figured out when I started doing Luther Tips du Jour videos recently, or years and years ago, that I almost went out and bought the $20,000, the $30,000 camera years ago. Then I figured out, nobody's going to retire and get rich selling online instructional videos to luthiers. It's a very niche market, so I've got to contain the amount of expense, physical expense as far as money, and also my time. Because if you're not, doing a fret job or teaching a student or something, you're just producing a video. It's much easier to make a few $100 doing a fret job. So very quickly, let's start with Bo. Is it good business sense? And quickly talk about your gear rundown there.
Well, there's two elements to the business sense. There's what Doug was talking about in relation to community and the giving back, which I think is really important. That's what I really loved about my mentor, Gerard Gillet. He was really generous with his time. So there's that. Whether it leads to new business is debatable. It probably does eventually, but I wouldn't count on it, and I wouldn't get into social media with that view in mind.
Right.
And time frame, I don't film anything that I'm not doing already. So if I'm building something, then I'll film it if it's interesting, like an arm bevel or whatever, or rosette. I did a rosette sort of 3-part series, which is, I got success on that, like Doug with his mini-series things. And with the repairs and other stuff like that. With filming, my phone is what I use for reels and stuff like that. And for my YouTube videos, I use a Canon RP full frame with a Sigma 35mm and a couple of other lenses. I've got a 16 wide lens, which shows really close up. I had most of the camera I actually bought for still photos. For when I complete an instrument, I take photos of it, and because it's got video capabilities, I just use that. And I've only put up a few brackets on the ceiling, so you can probably see that light there. There's another one up there. There's a few things that I've kind of just stuck to the ceiling, and it just makes setting up really fast. So I can just turn on this huge light that I've got over here.
Right.
That's a Amaran 200D.
Right.
It's really good.
Well, you just touched on a topic. Sorry to interrupt you there, Bo, about setting up. My shop is for giving classes. When I do a live stream, it takes me a few hours to get set up. I've got 4 cameras. I put one in each corner. I got this one I'm looking at now. I got switchers. I got lights, and I got to pull all this stuff out and set it up because I can't leave it set up permanent. So, Bo, you're doing it right if you got a permanent setup there.
It probably takes me about 20 seconds to turn the lights on,
Perfect.
And the camera on. So it's
unfortunately, I don't have a dedicated space I can do that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to Ian real quick. Ian, I've unmuted you. Take it away.
Okay. Yeah. So for social media, I pretty much use my iPhones. For filming, I use iPhones. Mm-hmm. I did some research on getting some regular frame cameras, and it just made more sense to stay with the iPhones for a couple reasons we won't go into here. In terms of whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze for business, I think if you're building guitars, I think it's a great way to have a photo album of all of your work and all of your options, and maybe some personal story stuff, which customers seem to respond to pretty well. For repair, I still think it's a little tough. I find it's helpful because I do have this, cloud storage for all my old projects. Sometimes I can go in and pull up old projects and show a customer what they can expect. I do a lot of finish repair. It's kind of one of the things I'm known for. And so when I tell a customer it's not going to be invisible, but it's going to look good, sometimes it helps if I have a picture to show them along with that, kind of to manage expectations. So, I probably have gotten some business as a result of having good touch-up work on there, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So I'd be hesitant to say that you're gonna just almost every repair person doesn't need any advertising. You put out a shingle in your town, and if there's enough guitars in your town, you're going to be overwhelmed with projects. I don't understand how it couldn't be anything other than a waste of time for most repair people, other than the community aspect and getting a network of people that you can rely on for question asking and answering and ideas for how to tackle projects and stuff like that. It is good to be connected that way.
Perfect. Let's go quickly run over to Doug. Doug, is it good business sense? And what's your gear?
Oh, my gear is this.
There you
And I
go.
was told-
iPhone.
Well, no, it's not an iPhone. I was told by somebody at the Verizon store that this one was going to stop working in 2023, but it still is. Still not going to replace it.
That's how old it is, huh?
Well, it's not. It's pretty old. I guess it's old in phone terms, but considering that I've got a pair of jeans that are older than the first iPhone, so I don't see it in relative terms that way. But so as far as that's the only equipment I have, and if it might be possible to look at my Instagram and figure that out based on the quality of the pictures. They're just phone quality, and which is I think fine for that platform. I try to do the Instagram in such a way that it doesn't cost me time away from the bench.
Right.
So I quickly discovered that what works for me is I stick a phone on a stand somewhere and I film myself doing work.
Yes.
And I just leave it on. Some days I've forgotten it on there and it just completely fills up the phone's memory. And then I decide what I'm going to do with it later. If there's something good enough there to show a piece of work that's going to be useful to somebody, I'll show it. Other times, maybe it's just to show off how I do something, and I compress the time down and just speed it up so I can fit it in a 1 minute post and put some silly music behind it, and then get it up on Instagram. And it takes 5 minutes to do that, and then I may spend 5 or 10 minutes writing a long form caption to it, and then I'll just load it up and I'll get on with my day. I don't want it to take a whole lot of time because, to answer the second part of it, I think it's lousy business sense.
Yes.
It can work if you're selling a product. It can work if you're selling a consumable like your content. Like for example, Ian's selling content through his Patreon. You're selling content through your Luthier Academy, and that has to look good. It can't look lousy. It can't be out of focus, and you can't have to put your phone up against your ear in order to hear it. So it's got to look good and sound to a reasonable degree. And I think, of course, the most important thing with all of that is that the content has to be consumable. In other words, the information has to be good, or else it can look great and it's useless.
Right.
So, but from that standpoint, that does take time and effort. I think, and I've discussed this with other lutes, the size and scope of most of what we're selling is minuscule compared to most people selling, socks or, other such things. And, and the size of our followership compared to most things on social media, unless the rest of us are going to start like doing neck resets and thongs, is not going to gain the number of eyeballs, that a lot of that social media content lends itself to. I don't know if anybody wants to see me do that, but from a business standpoint, you and I have talked about this before, where you have this firmly held belief that if you're not at your bench, you're not earning money.
That's right.
I understand that. And we differ a little bit on that concept of it, because there's a lot of things that we have to do away from our bench in order to earn money that have to be done. If you think that social media is one of those things, you're wrong. If you get good at doing this, if you provide a good service, if you demonstrate to the customer that you can perform a reasonable repair that's done well, that gives back the guitar to the consumer in a way that's not dissatisfactory to them, they'll tell people about it, and you'll wind up with more people standing behind them. And eventually, if you're good enough at it, you will have more guitars than you know what to do with. And in terms of repair, showing your shiny nuts on Instagram is not going to get another person to stand in that line.
Right.
And I'm a sucker for shiny nuts on Instagram just as much as anybody else is, but it's not something that's going to lend, to the repair business. It's not going to get you that 11th customer.
Right.
It's not going to get you that 20th guitar in your shop. It's not going to make the difference between you making 50 grand and 100 grand in a year.
Right.
Standing at the bench, with a sharp chisel in your hand is the thing that
Right.
gets that revenue happening.
That's right. Let me just add some final thoughts here. For me, social media has worked. Now, like Doug said, I'm selling content. I'm also selling in-house classes. So the online video courses I do through Luther Academy, the in-house classes, I have seen a definite bump in my bottom line because of it. Now, it's a full-time job to produce that content, and that's why I charge for it, because it literally is a full-time job. I mean, I build 20 to 24 guitars a year with students here. I produce several courses a year, plus the daily Instagram, Facebook, YouTube kind of stuff. It literally is a full-time job. So if you need to decide what you want to be, you want to be a guitar builder, a guitar repair person, or do you want to be a video content creator? In my case, I was able to marry both of them, and it's worked for me. I don't think it will work for everybody, but in my case, it has worked.
If you don't mind my saying, I think you've done it brilliantly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been hard fought, hard won. I still feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I know just enough to get myself in trouble with all the algorithms and how things work. But I'm getting to the point where it's just too much. It's too much trying to keep up with the latest, greatest technology and stuff. So talking about gear real quickly, I'm sitting in my shop. I'm using a Sony camcorder. It cost me $500. I got it refurbished. That's what I'm using. For microphone, just a simple lapel mic. If I want to get a little more high tech, like if I'm doing multiple cameras during like my virtual classes and things, then I have switcher here in front of me. I can move things around and pull up different camera angles over the ceiling and as I'm working and stuff like that. But I decided long ago to try and keep it as simple as possible. I have people currently filming videos for online courses for the Luther Academy using iPhones. I mean, that's how far the technology has come along. All the posts that you see me doing on Instagram and Facebook and stuff all the pictures and videos are taken now with an iPad. Just very quick and easy, and you can immediately pull up your app and post it and be done with it. But it is literally a full-time job. I'll wake up in the middle of the night thinking about the next content I need to create. And I didn't think I'd signed up for this, because I'm a teacher first. Even before I got into guitar building, I was in instruction, corporate training. So I'm a teacher. And it's just worked out that this is where technology has gone, and I've been in the right place at the right time and been able to take advantage of it. So it's worked out really well. Any final thoughts from any of us here before we call it quits?
Subscribe.
Oh, all right. Well, let me
the Luther Academy.
Again, Doug, go ahead.
Robbie, I'll second what you.
Hang on, everybody's trying to talk at once. Let's go with Bo, and then we'll just come around the red robin here. The red rope. What do you call it? Round robin. There we go. Let's go with Bo.
Ian's Luth Group, I can really recommend that to all repairers. It really is an excellent community and a rich source of everything, as is the Luth Academy for Robbie's. Yep. And Doug's already showed me tips and tricks for the week that I've been on Ian's thing, and I've got my own YouTube page if you want to check that out. And teaching is an amazing and wonderful thing if you can do it. Just have the knowledge to back up what you say, though.
There you go. Ian.
Yeah, I'd say exactly what you said about like the road down the social media trail is to like, are you going to be a full-time content creator, and what does that look like? What's your end goal? If it's just screwing around and posting a thing or two here and there on Instagram, that's fine. But yeah, if you're going to pursue it, know what that job looks like. And I can tell you, Robbie, when you say you're at the end of your rope with everything and you're going a million miles an hour in 100 different directions, I really feel that. So just it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
That's right. Doug, you got some final thoughts?
Yeah, well, as it relates to social media, I think, to me, you have to be true to what you want out of it. Every time I've tried to do something on social media where I tried to do something, I feel like I'm making a used car commercial. And it's like I'm very serious, and I stand here and say, "Hi, this is Doug from the Guitar Specialist in New York, and I have this Buick here that I'd like to, And that's what it feels like when I try to do something. When Sharon and I do something on social media, I remember we were filming something as a thank you to somebody. I can't remember what it was we were filming, but we filmed something. I think it was to say, I didn't remember if it was to say happy birthday or to thank somebody for sending us something or something like that. And then, as usually happens when we're trying to film something goes wrong, and then we started arguing with each other. And, just calling each other names and laughing hysterically, which is what shop is usually like for us. And then, so it's like we just stopped it. And I grabbed my phone and I walked away. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm posting that." Because that's real. and that was, for whatever period of time that I posted it, that was one of the most popular things that anybody saw that whole month. Because it's us. It's genuine. And that's what we're looking to get out of social media. So I think you have to sit down and decide what it is that you want to get out of it. I think the moment that in social media you start worrying about trying to figure that dark labyrinth known as algorithms and what social media expects from you, you've lost yourself into the vortex.
Right.
You have to go to it what's genuine for you, not what you think it wants.
Perfect.
Then we'll all be wearing thongs. And
well, we need to call it quits here because we've been at this for a long time. Ian's flight's probably getting ready to leave there. Just a couple parting words. First of all, if you did not know about Bo and Ian and Doug, you now have more people to follow on social media. So go ahead and hook up with their Instagram and Facebook pages. Like and follow. Also like and follow the Lutherie Academy here or O'Brien Guitars on YouTube. We put all this content out for free. I showed you earlier on the Lutherie Academy, there's a ton of free videos. There's never been a better time to share information in the history of the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you decide to jump in with both feet on social media, here's a couple of words that I learned a while ago. First of all, content is king. Production value is queen. So up your game. If not, other people are going to up theirs. So, thank you very much. Oh, Cesar Manuela down there in Brazil. Thank you very much, Cesar Manuela, for our drawings. Certainly appreciate that. And congratulations to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And over and out. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for doing this, Robin.